All right, everyone. Last looks. Quiet on set. Roll sound. Sound speed. Roll camera. Camera speed. Scene 1. Take 1. Market. And action. Hi, I'm Ed, the host of Savannah on Film, and we explore the economic and cultural impact and values of the film industry in Savannah through conversations with people who work in the industry and related fields. You can find us here on WRUU-LP, Savannah, Georgia, 107.5 FM, WRUU.org. We are Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. Hello, Savannah. Hello, the world. Welcome to another episode of Savannah on Film. This is the Will Serious Show. No. Anyway, welcome to Savannah on Film. I'm your host, Ed Susevich, and our purpose here is to explore the economic and cultural impact and values of the film industry in Savannah through conversations with people who work in the industry and related fields. We are here on WRUU 107.5 FM LP, Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. And our guest today is Will Martin. Welcome to the show, Will.
Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being on the show here. A quick little intro about Will here. And I'm going to start off my introduction today with a hashtag true story. I was told to do that. Kareem told me I better mention true story.
That's my catchphrase on my social media platform. So I try to tell my true stories.
Yeah, I used to say true story. Now I can't say it because you got it. So I just say truth. But anyway, the man I'm talking about is well known through the Savannah community. Will's highly educated teaching instructor, lecturer, radio show host since 1991 of the Will Serious Show on Savannah State University's radio station over there. And he's an entrepreneur, the owner and operator of Seriousways Multimedia. Will is also in local television as an editor and production specialist. He is an award-winning film producer, writer, videographer, and director of many important documentaries, which we're going to talk about. Will is a proud member of Savannah State University. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
And someone who inspires all those that he comes into contact with on a daily basis. From Savannah State, Georgia Southern, and Savannah Tech's GFA program, Will has more degrees than a thermometer. So, once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I was one correction.
You
said that I was doing radio since 91. It wasn't quite.
It wasn't 91?
It was 2000. Yeah,
okay.
In 91 I was in elementary school, so
maybe that's supposed to be 2001.
Yeah, 2000. Yeah.
Well, I'm timeless, so
I feel you. I feel you. No
multidimensional there. But thank you for that correction. But you were thinking about it.
I was.
You were laying the plans for that.
I was in elementary school plotting.
You're like, I'm taking over all the multimedia. So
everybody else was learning the alphabet. I was trying to figure out how to turn an audio board on. So.
There you go. Let's see. You hold an MA, which is I think that stands for mostly awesome. No, it's a Master's of Art, Professional Communications and Leadership.
That's correct.
From Georgia Southern.
Right.
Just recently, 2018 on that. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
A technical certificate of credit from the Georgia Film Academy on-set production. I got one of those too. From Savannah Technical College. John Grace, shout out to you, and GFA there. Bachelor of Arts, cum laude, mass communications major, and a theater minor back in 2004 from Savannah State.
Right.
You've done a lot of things. You helped basically build, is this correct, the radio station there at Savannah State? Is that fair to say? Or?
No. WHCJ, the radio station at Savannah State, predates me. It celebrated 40 years of existence last year, a year before last, but it was here recently. And I learned about the radio station as a freshman at Savannah State. I came on campus and I was an undecided major when I first started college. And
I think a lot of people are.
Yeah, like I had no idea what I wanted to do. And really when I started college, I had no idea what Savannah State really offered. Like I had, came out of high school and college was just like the next thing to do. That's like just what you did. So,
right.
I went to Savannah State. I was an undecided major. Had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. And I was in a freshman year experience class. And, they did the whole song and dance where they make each student stand up and like, hey, tell your name and where you're from and what you want to do, what you want to be. And I was like, so this is going to be real interesting when they get to me. But the girl next to me stood up and she said, I don't even remember who she was, but she was like, I'm a mass communications major with a focus on radio and television production. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds like something I can get into. So I asked her, where did she go to talk to people about that? And she told me how to find a department. And I found, that day I found Dr. Charles Elmore and Novella Cross Holmes. And they both kind of brought me into the fold, so to speak. And I learned about the on-campus radio station. And Novella Holmes sent me to find Ike Carter, who Ike Carter has trained a lot of. Ike Carter trained Kenya Cabine and
who just retired, I guess we should say.
Yeah, so Kenya just left radio.
A good friend of yours too.
Yeah, Kenya and I are very good friends. He's like a brother to me. I love that guy to death. But he got it started at WHCJ along with another guy who I'm real good friends with, former radio DJ here in Savannah, Lil G. Ike Carter got he gave a lot of us our start in radio and taught us the ropes and, taught us how to be professionals and how to act on air and act off air and the whole nine. So that's really how I found out and started at WHCJ. But yeah, the radio, Mr. Carter and those that came along with Mr. Carter had got WACJ up and running long before I even knew what Savannah State had.
But you took it to the next level. I'm trying to give you extra credit here.
So what I did,
what happened was,
what I did was, so the station had a mainstay show called Tiger Beat. And I became the host of Tiger Beat after a long series of other hosts had the show. And after so many years of doing it, I wanted to make it my own. Like I felt like I had graduated, but I was still on the air. So I felt like Tiger Beat belonged to the students at Savannah State. Okay. And they,
you're just like the caretaker of it.
Right. And they started a student station, a low power student station. So it was WSSU for the students and WHCJ, which was more of the community station. And so I said, I thought it'd be a good idea just to give Tiger Beat back to the students. And I gave, kind of transitioned into the Will Serious show and kind of just made it my own. And and it's still on the air. I'm still doing it once a week.
So what, in like one line, what's the Will Serious show about? I mean, do you hit like topics or
the Will Serious show is?
What's your main focus of it?
So I play hip hop and R&B music, because that's just my thing, and it's a bunch of me running my mouth and doing what I want to do on there. But I think Will Serious show adds another dimension to radio, in that over the years, over a decade, close to 18 years I've been on the air, and I think I've been doing that show for at least 15 of those years. I've interviewed local artists and community leaders and just everybody that you can think of. And I
18
think
years, yeah.
Right. And so I think the Will Serious Show gives people with a message or with talent or with something to get out a platform that they wouldn't ordinarily get. And you don't have to go through a bunch of red tape or, a bunch of whatever to get on the air. You have a conversation with me. I have a conversation with my station manager, Grace Curry, and and then we're on the air and we're up and running. And from that, you invite a local artist on the show, right, and then they tell their family they're going to be on the show, and they tell their friends they're going to be on the show. And it's my job during that interview in which that individual's on the air with me to make sure their family and friends tune back in the next week, because they got something a little bit different than what they'll get in commercial radio.
Okay. That's awesome. And you've done a lot there at Savannah State. And one of the things, you helped them in contact with CNN. You helped them on 2 different occasions acquire like a contract there. Well, if you can talk about that.
Yeah, when I came to the Department of Journalism and Mass Communications, I was hired as a program director. The JMC department at Savannah State has a closed circuit television station that you can see on campus. And but what we needed ways for our students to be able to produce content and get material and operate like they would in the professional world. And me coming from, working at WSAV for over a decade, a lot of our news gathering and the processes that we go through is there are established relationships with CNN and NBC News Source and different places where you get your national news. Our student needed a means to get national news. And so I made a proposal and introduced the idea of becoming an affiliate, a university affiliate with CNN. And started that initiative. So we got that done. I forget who was the chair at the time, but we got the first contract done. And Savannah State became an official affiliate of CNN, and our students started gathering content and contributing. They were able to submit story ideas and submit their own content to CNN, and then they were able to put that they were a CNN contributor on their resumes upon graduation, which is important, right? Because the whole purpose of college is to get a job coming out. And then and most recently, just recently, we started, that contract ended, and then we went away. We went over to getting news content from AP News and different things. But now I led the process of reigniting a relationship with CNN, and we're officially a CNN affiliate again over at Savannah State. So,
wow, that's impressive. One of the things that's definitely a highlight, I think, of your career, and you probably agree, was your Feed the Hungry documentary on Carl Gilliard. And it was recognized by House Resolution 661.
Right.
And when Kareem was on the show, he was trying to remember the number. He's like 66 something. Is like, I think.
Yeah, it's House Resolution 661. Yeah.
And it's for your work on the film. Feed the Hungry, the documentary. And I wanted to talk about that. I know it's very important. It's near and dear to your heart.
Right.
So let's go into a conversation about that if you'd like.
So what happened was, I'd worked at WSAV for years. I'd been on the air not on the air, but I'd been on the production staff and the news staff at WSAV for years. And I worked the morning show, Coastal Sunrise. Yeah. And they would have these segments where people would come in and be interviewed. Well, one morning, Carl Gilliard was coming in to be interviewed by the legendary Kim Gusby. And after the interview, I walked up to him, I introduced myself, and I told him that I did a radio show at Savannah State. And I thought what he was doing at Savannah Feed the Hungry was great. And I thought more people needed to know about it. There need to have more conversations about it. And I invited him on my radio show. And he agreed, and he came, and we did a radio segment that was supposed to last about 15 minutes, and we spoke for over an hour.
Wow.
And it went so well that I said, why don't we do this once a month? Because I want your message to get out. I want Savannah Feed the Hungry's message to get out. And I need people to understand that the homeless, not just the homeless, but the working poor issue is an epidemic, not in Savannah and the state of Georgia and not really all over, but there are a lot of people that go to work and like bust their butts every day, and they just don't have enough money to make ends meet or figure out solid meals for the week and different things. So that's what we call the working poor, and that's more what Savannah Feed the Hungry tries to address, is the people that are doing everything they can and it's just not enough. And I thought that was a very important message and conversation to be had as often as possible. And so in the process of Carl coming in and doing these monthly interviews, he and I became really good friends over time. And then I learned more about his story. Like, Savannah Feed the Hungry came out of the misery that he and his family had to endure as they were hungry and they were the working poor. And they had to figure out how they were going to eat and different things. And so I was like, that would make a good documentary. Uh-huh. And this was before our GFA and before I was trained. I had a professional experience in being editor and a production tech at WSAV, but I never actually put together a project.
Okay.
So, and to the degree that this required, I need, like produce it, direct it, right, shoot it. Like, I was just one man banding my way through this thing. And once I got into it and I really started shooting and went into the production phase, like, I kind of fumbled my way through pre-production because it was my first time doing it with no really formal training in filmmaking. And, I got into the production phase and I just realized the scope of the project was just way too big for me to do by myself. And so, and Carl and I had this conversation, and so we shelved the project. We put it on the shelf. And 3 years later, I was working at Savannah State. I met Kareem McMichael.
Yeah. And
Kareem and I started the Georgia Film Academy program. We were in John Grace's first class over there. And, we met a great group of people, other aspiring filmmakers that were in the same program. And it was during a time where, in film, so filmmaking in the state and in the city has blown up with these tax incentives.
Definitely.
And so, but we were at a time where we were in the second section of the Georgia Film Academy program where you had to be like on set, like you had to be working and getting tangible experience. But it was a time in the city of Savannah where there were just no projects happening. Like, I think there was one, and a handful of our classmates were on it, but they couldn't take all of us. So John was like, well, you guys are going to do something. So we're going to do our own project.
Okay.
And so we kicked around some ideas and some documentary ideas. And when we started discussing documentaries, I was like, well, guys, I got this project that I put on the shelf about 3 years ago that I started working on by myself, and it was just too big. But we got a crew. It's a good story. I told them about the story. I told them about Carl Gilliard. And Kareem wasn't there that day.
Right.
And so they got excited about it. John got excited about it. And I got in the car that day and I called Kareem and I said, hey, we're going to shoot our own documentary. We're going to do this film. And I'm going to direct it. It's a project I started 3 years ago, but I need you to produce it. Like, other people in the class were like, they'll produce it. And I was like, nah, I need Kareem on this one.
Right.
Because I knew
how he works
and he is, so
right.
He's tenacious, he does it, he works tirelessly, and I knew he would put as much effort into the project and kind of make it his own, like I did. Like it would mean as much to him as it did to me, and that was important to me. Like you want somebody passionate as you are on something that's near and dear to your heart.
Well, yeah, definitely. When you create something, you're part of creating something. It's hard to let go of that control of it. So, you were probably also you were directing, producing. You were still doing everything, even though you had Kareem on there. I mean, it was still a collaborative effort and everybody involved. But yeah, it's hard to just give it to someone and say, here, let's make this. But you got to be able to trust that person. You got to know their style and know that your styles meld well with what you're trying, the vision you're trying to portray there of what you're actually trying to do. So,
because it was a high level of organization needed to set up interviews, talk to multiple people. A lot of times, when we would do interviews, Kareem would be talking to a certain person we're interviewing for weeks ahead of the interview, and I would just meet that individual when they came on set. As a director, I would, because Kareem's handled everything up to there, and so you need somebody like that make sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and so we signed on, and eventually, once we got into it, the class eventually ended. We had been shooting, we had been in production for about 6 months, gathering interviews, talking to different people. I can't remember how many interviews we did, but it was just a tedious process. And once the class ended, we lost a lot of our crew. Like they dispersed and went back to their lives and whatever they were doing. So toward the end, it came down to really like Kareem and I really trying to push this thing across the finish line.
It was almost back to one in a way.
And so but we did it. We got it finished and we got it screened, and the mayor came out and state officials, and next thing you know, we land in Governor Nathan Deal's office, and we got a House resolution, written about us, and it blew up. And
well, yeah, some of the accolades. It received a silver award and second overall at the 2017 International Philadelphia Film Festival in 2017. And it was also in the Miami Independent Film Festival.
Right.
A selection there.
It won Best Cinematography
in the 12-month film festival also. Right. Yeah, so, I mean, the accolades are there. But even more than that satisfaction of those accolades of the film is the message behind it and what Carl Gilliard's done for this community and continues to do, and you yourself, what you're doing for the community, and especially the film community too. For a lot of those people that it might have been their first time on set, right? And so, what a great learning experience. Obviously, GFA. I'm a graduate of that. John Grace's class. He's of course still the instructor there, and a wonderful gentleman, and we learned so much, and when I got on my first film as an intern in Galveston, I was like just mind blown every day. And so when you get on those big productions, having these documentaries, not to say that they are important and they have their relevance, and you don't have to be necessarily on a big budget film to be successful at what you do,
right?
Because this is a lot of the documentaries and stuff that you do in the film area is definitely related to local. It's all about local. I think it's about uplifting people. It's about shining light on problems and issues, and this is definitely the homeless issue in Savannah, something that is an ongoing thing that this will feeding those homeless, because sometimes we're all just one paycheck away, as it's been said, from being in that situation. You never know, just a bad twist of fate and some bad luck, and we could all be in that situation, so we need to be humble and be thankful about it. I'm looking at just but is there anything else, first off, before we leave that topic of the film? Is there anything else you want to say about it?
No,
I know you're very proud of it, and you have every right to be.
We're proud of it. We're trying to take it to the next level. We're in the process of trying to get a feature, working on the feature film
Oh,
based
okay.
off the documentary. And so we're in the process. We're in the funding process where we're going around. We're trying to have funds. We've had conversations with the Georgia Film Academy. They because we're products of theirs, they've kind of taken ownership of us. Not
That's great.
And so they're willing to throw some funds behind it and some different things. So we're just in the fundraising process and trying to fund a feature film and make it something worthwhile, something that people want to see, and something with a good message is what we're focusing on. That's the next phase of that. That's the next level that we're doing.
I think we need, in this day and age, we need more positive affirmations of the good things that people are doing and how one person, working within an organization can change his own city, his own thing. And this documentary does it very well. Shifting gears a little bit, another one of your credits in your filmography is the road to desegregation. Excuse me. Back in 2014, you were in the camera and electrical department, and it was about the 50th anniversary at the time of the March on Washington. What are your thoughts about that? I know it started like as a TV short documentary. Is that correct?
So basically, that particular project, we were in a phase where Kareem and I we worked together, but we never really like tag teamed a project like we do now.
Right.
And so that was a project that Kareem and another one of our associates, Sylvia, all started on. And Kareem needed some assistance in the camera work and the videography department. Okay. So, he tapped me and was like, hey, could you come in and put some work in on this project with me on this one? And so that was really our first time working together. But it just to see the impact and the finished product and a lot of the history that was discussed and the research that went into that project was really unique. And those are the type of stories that, we like to tell.
Right.
The road to desegregation was a discussion. It was a piece that really starts the discussion toward racial equality and gaining equal rights and really addressing the civil rights issue that I feel, especially on the current administration, that we're still addressing right now to this day. And I think so. Films like The Road to Desegregation is just a reminder of, look, we've already been here. So
it's still relevant.
Right.
Dr. King's message will always be relevant, and it's even more relevant, I think, today. Mm-hmm. And but it starts with each person working together, I think, and it's a very powerful piece of film work you did there.
Yeah, so that's one of the pieces that we're very proud of. Yeah.
And let's see, you have something 2018, a short that you were a camera op on that you've completed, A Sunday Kind of Love. Do you want to talk about that? Can you talk about that? Sunday
Kind of Love. I was just I was really brought in to work in the camera department. Okay. Sierra, a friend of ours, Sierra, wrote it. It was her film. It was her baby, and I was just happy that she, I wasn't doing anything, and I was just happy she called me, and I got called in on the project, and I got to a point like I knew nothing about the script or the story, and I came in on the first day of shooting, and it turned out to be this beautiful story and this incredible movie that Sierra had written, and I was happy to be a camera op on the project. So I haven't seen the completed film yet. It's still in the post production phase. I haven't seen the finished one yet, but I'm waiting to see how it actually turned out, because I did my camera work and turned my time in and left. And so,
Okay.
but it was a really good set. It was a really good feel. I was working with a bunch of people that I know, that I'm close with, that I'm friends with, and those are always
Those are the fun ones.
those are the fun ones. The film. In the film community, it's like once you're in, and once you know people,
Right.
and it's like one big family. And so when you get on set with a bunch of people, and y'all have each other's back, and you're having fun, but you really just want to make good art. It really makes for a good situation. So, and that's what Sunday Kind of Love was. It was just a really feel good situation for all the filmmakers involved.
The tagline is two lovers find their relationship tested by the pressure society has placed on what love is and what love should be.
Yeah.
So, interesting. I got another one down here where you directed Mistaken from 2017.
Yes, we did that for.
Was that also GF?
That was that was our first 48-hour competition. Once we broke away from GFA, we had a good number of GFA students working with us, and but Mistaken was really turned out to be a better film than we really thought it was. It competed in the 48-hour film fest, and then we sent it to a couple of other film festivals because we were that proud of it. But it was really good. I directed that particular project and had Tracy Haynes on that one as director of photography, and Kareem produced it.
So what was it like directing that particular film? I mean, any special thoughts pop out of your mind?
Like, I love directing. Like, I love...
You love telling people what to do.
Basically.
and get paid for it. No.
Yeah, I like directing, and camera work is really my field house. Like, that's kind of where I'm comfortable at. But I don't know if that's more the alpha male syndrome that I have going on. But yeah, I really like directing. I really like working with people and interacting with people. And I feel like as a film director, you get to work in every phase of the production in that role. So a director's involved in pre-production, he's involved in production, he's involved in post. So he's involved in every phase of it, and he gets to interact and work with everybody really on set. And really, the feel of the set, how the crew feels and everything, I think it starts with the director and trickles down. So if you have a good director, I think a happy director, it makes for a happy crew because he sets the tone and he sets the pace on set.
That's true.
So I love having that role.
You've also directed under your Seriousways Multimedia production. Mm-hmm. You directed and produced 100 Years of Excellence. It's about the Frank Callan Boys and Girls Club here in Savannah. You want to chat about that for a second?
Well,
that experience.
Frank Callan founded a boys club. He is an African-American man that founded a boys club at a time when, you wouldn't find African-Americans establishing anything. And he was a probation officer from up north that moved down to Savannah and just saw a need and did everything he could, use his knowledge, his resources, any means that he had. He and his wife, Irma Callan, to establish a safe haven for African American boys at the time. Later, it became the Frank Callan Boys and Girls Club. Irma Callan made it that. I believe it was it was recent. It wasn't that long ago. It was 1960 or 1980, but it was one of those two. But and they made
the big swath of time right there.
Yeah, that's a big gap in time. But it was one of those two. But I know when I found out it was just named the Frank Callan Boys and Girls Club as recently as it was, I was shocked. But no, but girls were allowed to go to the club before that. Right. I believe the first girl started going to the club in the 1950s and 60s. And I thought it was just a great story to tell. The Frank Callan Boys and Girls Club contacted me because they wanted me to come in and just do a short piece for their 100-year anniversary. Okay. And once I got into interviewing people and talking to people in Savannah, I spoke to Dr. Charles Elmore. I spoke to God, so many interviews that I did. I can't all the names are escaping me right now. But once I got into really finding out who Frank and Irma Callan were,
right,
the history behind the Boys Club, and knowing more about the story, I didn't want to just stop at the piece I was going to produce for their ceremony, which they had on Hutchinson Island last year. Okay. I wanted to do more, and I stretched it out. I gave them a short piece, and then I stretched it out into a full documentary later. So, as a matter of fact, I recently shot another interview for it that I want to add to it.
Okay,
and
nothing's
it's still,
ever complete, is
right?
It? Yeah.
It's still in a building process. Like, so, I think I'm gonna re-release a longer version toward the beginning of 2019.
Director's cut.
Yeah, director's cut version.
There you go. And one other thing you have in here as a director and producer is 143 years of Savannah Tribune, a documentary.
Yeah. So that was most recent. Shout out to the Savannah Tribune, Tanya Milton, Miss Shirley James, the owner. They contacted me and said, hey, we're going to have this 143rd anniversary brunch.
Right.
And we want a video documentary done that's going to play during the brunch. Would you be interested in the project? And I said, yeah, of course. And that's another one. Like I know more about the Savannah Tribune than I ever thought I would. And then really, I in doing these type of documentaries, I'm learning more and more about my city, about Savannah, than I ever thought I would.
I thought about that coming into this interview, and I've had that feeling too when obviously you get involved with a film, no matter what department you are, but especially if you're creating it like you do, that these are teachable and training moments for yourself. This is like you picking up a book and reading it, but you're making it audio and visual for other people to read that book also, as so to speak,
right,
in the film format. So yeah, I can see where it's very educational and you really get involved and really want to help out these organizations that are doing such good things in the community.
And it's an involved process because you start out doing research. So I spent countless hours in the library at Savannah State with shout out to Ann Ogden. She's director of the archives at Savannah State, and I've gone through microfilm and when you're dealing with really old pictures and newspapers, they make you put on these little white gloves.
Handle them certain way.
Yeah, so like they say, handle everything with kid gloves. Like I had the little white gloves on, and I'm hours. I'm sitting in the archives, just going through stuff and doing research and learning things. And so I'm really growing, I think, as an individual from doing these type of projects that I'm doing and taking on the type of projects that I'm taking on.
Do you think versus a big production coming to town, doing your own thing, your documentaries is, like you're saying, what feeds you the most artistically?
Artistically, yes. Does it?
Financially, not so much.
Financially, not so much. And does it quench my thirst, so to speak? No. Okay. Like,
it increases your knowledge, but
I think it makes me a more well-rounded individual, a more scholarly and educated man. But at the same time, it doesn't put my fire out for big budget filmmaking. I want to be on the Marvel films. I want to be on.
That's what I was about to say. I said I could see like you and Kareem teaming up on Black Panther too. Like Seriousways, Multimedia being involved.
Everybody that knows me knows how much of a comic book junkie I am, and I just. But I really want to be on big budget films. But at the same time, there's a dilemma for all filmmakers at some point. Like, filmmaking you're basically a freelancer. So you get on a film, you work for 4 to 6 months, however long the production is, and then you're out of work until the next film picks up.
Right. It's always about the next project.
Right. So, so it's hard for an individual like me who has a steady job, steady paycheck. I'm teaching at Savannah, so working at Savannah State. Right. It's hard to leave where that check is coming
Yeah.
you know, when it's coming and you know what it's going to be, to going to, okay, I know I got 6 months of work here. Then I got to find my next project. I find my next film. So.
I personally retired back in early 2017 from a job that I was very secure in because I wanted to follow passion being in filmmaking and being a sound mixer. And so I've not regretted that choice at all. And I'm glad I did it. You know, I'm not getting any younger, you know, none of us are. So I think you have to go with what feeds your soul, not just some. I know you got to feed the pocket, you know, you got to eat. So you got to fill that wallet full of some dough right there. But, you know, it's finding that balance. And I know a lot of people in the film industry try to find that balance. At this point, we need to jump to a quick break here, and we're going to come back, and I've got a few more questions to fire off at you,
Okay.
Will. So everybody hang on, and we'll be right back.
The Latin American Service Organization, or LASO, presents the 13th annual Fiesta Latina, featuring games, food, live music, arts and crafts, and connections to important organizations of interest to Savannah's Latin American community. The celebration will take place on Saturday, September 29th, from noon until 8 p.m. on the Waterfront Plaza, River Street in Savannah. For more information, email lasosavannah1@gmail.com.
WRUU brings you the most diverse and passionate local radio programming on the air in Savannah. This all-volunteer and nonprofit community radio station accepts no money from any form of government. Our diversity and independence is made possible only through the generous financial support of listeners like you. We rely on your annual and ongoing monthly contributions to cover the many costs associated with bringing you our broadcast and web programming. If you are a contributor, thank you. If you are not yet a contributor, please show your appreciation of the role WRUU plays in your life by becoming a contributor in any amount. You can donate quickly and easily by credit card or check. Just find the donate and subscribe links at wruu.org. Thanks for listening to and supporting WRUU.
The Savannah Folk Music Society offers a concert the first Friday of every month at 7:30 p.m. at First Presbyterian Church on Washington Avenue in Savannah. You can find information about their next concert at their website, www.savannahfolk.org.
And we're back here on Savannah on Film, along with the highly talented Will Martin.
I'm all right.
I almost said Will Smith for a minute. Almost slipped
Somebody called me Will Smith on Facebook the other day.
Did they? Big Willie Styles all in it. Anyway, so I've got like tons of notes here, and there's no way we can get to everything, but there's a few more things I want to get into. I actually just want to jump into some more questions here.
Okay.
Since you've been doing producing, directing, you've acted, you're a writer, You've just about done it all. What advice can you give to aspiring people coming up in the industry?
The advice that I would give to if you're aspiring anything, anything, filmmaker, if you want to be a cook, a mechanic, if you want to be a teacher, whatever you want to be, like, you have to go do that. Like, a lot of times we get stuck in a pattern of sitting around saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Right. And the next thing you know, you look up and you've been saying, I'm going to do this for 10 years. Like, stop saying I'm going to do it. Shut up and go do it.
There you go.
And so that, that's would be my advice to aspiring filmmakers, anybody. Like, go make a film. Like, even you don't have to have a big budget camera. You don't you use what you have. Like,
you can do it on your iPhone. You can do it on your Android.
iPhone is shooting 4K now. Like, like you could go shoot a decent film. I know a Japanese filmmaker that shot his entire film on the iPhone. Like entire feature length film shot on his iPhone, and it looks great. I mean, it's good. You can't tell it wasn't shot with a, you think he used a red or something. Like got shot with his iPhone. So if you want to do something, use what you have available to you. I said something this morning on Facebook about, as long as you're doing the best you can with what you have available to you right now, you're doing okay. And it's just use what you have available to you right now today and stop making excuses and go do what you need to do. You don't have to wait on other people. You don't have to keep asking for help. Help yourself.
We don't have to wait for Hollywood,
Right.
This can be Savannah Wood, as some people have called it,
Right. Like, just do your thing. Like, stop waiting.
Yeah, very good. It takes we've talked on the show, a lot of dedication too. But one thing it also takes is infrastructure. How do you think Savannah as a film community? One of the things that comes up on the show here is we need a sound stage. What are your thoughts on that? Wouldn't it be nice to have a big studio here? So
we need a sound stage.
We need a sound stage.
Bottom line, Savannah has everything a filmmaker could want. You want the beach, we got that. You want historic scene, we got that. There's a film that shot here recently. They wanted to make it look like New York. They shot downtown and they made it look like New York.
Amazing.
So it's amazing the things you could do with camera and editing and post. So you can do whatever you want in Savannah, but Savannah misses out on a lot of films coming here because of lack of a decent soundstage and studio space. Atlanta has it. You got Tyler Perry Studios. You got what's the big one in Atlanta?
Pinewood.
That Marvel has booked up Pinewood for like the next 100 years or something stupid. I mean, they're just making boatloads of money. But and we were close. We were close to getting a soundstage. What Craig Gordon was trying to do and some different things. It was it ran into some interference from the city, and that was halted. But I think we were close. But I think if you want to see the next level of filmmaking in our city in Savannah, soundstage is necessary. Like it's just no way around it.
Yeah, it's vital. You get to a certain point, we can only grow so much before. I mean, we can still grow, but that would just so put us on the next level.
Right.
And these productions can totally set up home here, and they can have the office space and everything else, which, they still do to an extent now, but it can be so much next level on that. What movies inspire you? Like your directing, because that's one of your main things is directing. Like who's your favorite director? I mean, what's one cat out there that you're like, man, I got to see this movie because like hearing a name, like if you hear a name Scorsese or something,
right.
Like I got to check out a Scorsese film, or I hear, I don't know, Spielberg, I want to check out Spielberg. I mean,
Spielberg is a magician. He does some good stuff. Most recently, I guess Coogler has taken over as my favorite director. He did Black Panther, but just watching the behind the scenes stuff and watching how he prepared to do, like he was preparing to do Black Panther for a year and a half, 2 years before they actually went into production. He took a trip to Africa.
Wow.
And he studied the different cultures that exist within the different villages of Africa. And from what he learned over there, you see that reflected in the different tribes in Wakanda. Like, so the big earrings in the one tribe all came as a direct influence of what he saw on his trip to Africa. So, like, that's the kind of director I want to be.
It's the kind of attention to detail.
Right. It's like you go and you experience real life, and then you reflect that on the big screen. It's I think that's the most important part of directing, and I saw that in Coogler. And he's a young guy, like he's in his 30s like me, so he's just an inspiration.
Awesome. Okay, so that's one of your film. What's your favorite film of all time? Can you narrow it down? Or
of all time.
That's kind of hard to do. Okay.
So I love all the Marvel films.
Yeah.
If I had to just call a film right now, I'd probably say
Dark Knight.
Tombstone.
Tombstone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I get you on that one. Oh,
Yeah,
Tombstone's.
probably too. Doc Holliday.
Yeah.
So I relate a lot to Doc Holliday. Like that's my that's the character I would be if I could be any character.
And I've got to ask why specifically.
Doc Holliday he's just a different kind of cat. It's just
He's next level.
yeah, he's next level. So like he was just so cool and so smooth, and he never raised his voice, he never yelled, he never hollered. But one thing I appreciate about Doc Holliday, there's one scene in the film where I can't remember who it was, but one of the guys was asking Doc Holliday, it's like, man, you're sick, like you shouldn't be out here, like you're not in any kind of physical position to be out here helping Wyatt Earp. Like, why are you doing this to yourself? And Doc looks at him and he says, because he's my friend. And the guy says, well, I got a lot of friends. And Doc says, well, I don't.
Wow.
So it's like, it's like and I relate, like I don't have a ton of friends, but I take care of the ones that I have. I do anything for them. And I think that's important. Like you take care of your own, you meet people along the way, friends become family, and you treat them like that, and you do anything for them. So that kind of drew me to Doc, the character of Doc Holliday when I was a kid. And I think to this day, Tombstone is still one of my favorite movies.
Okay. I can't disagree with you on that. I wasn't thinking Tombstone, but it's a brilliant movie. Has that movie inspired like your directing or your filmmaking in a way, do you think?
Not really.
Not really? Not specifically?
I think my directing and my filmmaking style comes really more from my years of working in broadcast television and news. Okay. I just my mannerisms, doing live TV is a lot of pressure because there is no cut. Like you get it right the first time, and if you don't, you just got to keep it moving.
It's like theater too.
It's just like theater,
yeah.
So it's like you're doing this live, and you either get it right or you find a way to get over it real fast because there's no recovery time. There is no cut. There is no, all right, everybody back at one. Like you just keep it moving. And so it takes a special temperament to deal with that type of pressure every day. And I did it for 15 years. Wow. So a lot of my temperament comes like all, what can be breaking loose around me. And it's very important that I keep myself calm and under control, because if you start slipping into chaos, as chaos erupts around you, you lose yourself. Okay. So I think that's kind of my style when I'm on set now. And it's just like, if I could do that with 15 years of live TV, if I get an opportunity to cut and do it again, I think I'm going to be okay. And that's what film allows me to do, cut and do it again.
Yeah. We just need one more take.
Yeah, let's see that one more time.
Let's see it one more time. What's your approach from like conception to completion of an entire film? If you see something that interests you, you probably do your pre-production, your research on it,
right,
and then assemble your team, get your Avengers.
Yeah,
the
most important part is your crew. You get your crew together, people you can rely on, people you can count on. But from conception of an idea, and ideas come from anywhere. You go into it. The writing is very important. Like if it's poorly written, if you don't have a good story to tell, it's going to be a poor project. It's going to be a poor film. Like nothing's going to work after that. So it starts with the writing, and the writing comes directly from the research that you do, the time you put in, case studies, whatever you need to do, right? Like Coogler went to Africa, it's just whatever you need to do to get a good story together. And then you get your story together, you work on your visuals, know what you want people to see and look at, because the visuals help tell your story. And then the sound, like the music, the sound, and everything from the sound effects to the music that makes your film. So you really want to put a lot of time into your sound design and make sure you have everything working in that regard.
It's like Star Wars without John Williams would be
right
not as good.
So
still be great. But.
You just want to make sure it's about attention to detail, and attention to detail is reflected in the final product.
Okay, one final question here before we go, and thank you for being on the show. It's
Anytime.
Been fascinating. Where do you see your career in 5 years?
God, it's hard to say.
I want to thank the Academy.
Ideally,
okay.
in 5 years. So I don't know about 5 years. I'm gonna tell you what I'm doing.
Okay.
Now. What I'm doing now is I'm gearing towards a move into the big budget film arena.
Okay.
Like that's what I want. And like I said earlier, I'm a firm believer in don't talk about it. Like just go do it.
Just do it.
And so it takes a leap of faith. It's going to take me leaving the comfort zone and the things that I'm used to and just going and doing it. And so big budget filmmaking is where I'm going. That's where I'm headed. So in 5 years, I hope that, you remember this comment and you say, well, he said he was doing that.
Well, I hope everybody remembers that. Yeah. Because there's nowhere but onward and upward. So that's the way I look at it. So best of luck to you, Will, on everything.
I appreciate it.
Tell Jada I said hello. I mean, no. And I want to thank you, Will Martin, for joining me today here on Savannah on Film. Savannah on Film wants to feature professionals at different levels. So if you're listening and you're in the industry, I'd love to talk to you too. Our email is savannahonfilm@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook as Savannah on Film. We're on Twitter. We're on YouTube, where you can hear the interviews. You'll hear this one a little bit down the road, hopefully this week, depending on how fast I get things processed. And you can listen to a lot of our previous episodes there on the YouTube channel. And you have been listening to Savannah on Film with your host, Ed Susevich, on WRUU 107.5 FM LP, Savannah Soundings, community radio with global soul. You have been listening to another episode of Savannah on Film, where we give a voice to the Savannah film community. Please like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and follow us on Twitter. This program was originally broadcast on 107.5 FM in Savannah, Georgia, and worldwide on www.wruu.org. Join us next time for more intriguing insights into the vibrant Savannah film community here at Savannah on Film.